Director for People and Innovation for the LLR CCGs, and 1/3 of the responsible officers for the people plan across LLR Health and Social Care. So I'm delighted to open today. We're going to start with a very short video about kindness. The team have got a full video that you'll be able to access after the session. It is on YouTube and we can put the link in the chat. But what a way to start each session, with a small little snippet around what kindness means for our colleagues. So, Jem, are you? Oh no, it's Mariam. I've got a short video.
Kindness is about giving without thought of receipt. It's based on consideration of the understanding and the needs of others without thought for self-gain. Kindness is important because it creates happiness both in ourselves, and kindness makes us all feel better about ourselves and others. I'm reminded of a letter sent by a lady to a social care worker that I was copied into, thanking her for the support she'd given in helping her husband of 40 years move into residential care. And the lady didn't have to write the letter. And the reason she wrote the letter was because of the kindness shown to her by the social care worker. And the social care worker was just doing her job, but it was the way that she did the job. It was the way that she acted with kindness to this lady who was in pain and anguish. And I think it's an example of how kindness begets kindness. So the act of the social worker in being kind to the lady in the way that she supported the lady was then responded to by an act of kindness by somebody who was going through probably one of the most troubled times of their lives.
Thanks, Mariam. So there is a full video. We'll pop it in the chat for those who want to watch it, and you'll hear from other colleagues across health and social care about what kindness means to them. You can also take part in kindness. We've got a kindness pledge that we are encouraging everybody who attends these sessions to take a few moments and make that pledge. And we can also do something really personal. We've got some thank you cards. So take a moment, have a cup of tea, and who would you like to say a thank you to? I've received a couple this week, and there's something that just makes you smile inside and out when you receive something. Someone's taken a moment to do that, so please do that. But today we're going to talk about healthy conversations, and hopefully you can see mine and Jane's face. Jane is going to lead us through the next hour, which we hope will be practical and interactive and fun. It's about healthy conversations, or good conversations, or better conversations, however you've heard it described. But this is a way of saying it's good to talk. And if you ever watched the TV in the 90s, that was the slogan from BT, but it hasn't changed. It is good to talk. And we're going to talk about what that means from a health and wellbeing lens. So what does that mean for us? So Jane is a organisational development professional, facilitator, and experienced coach. So we're in great hands. And ICE, as the company she's working for, have worked with us on many things over the years. So Jane, without me rambling on for any longer, the floor is yours.
Alice, thank you very much. Thank you for the introduction, and it's great to reconnect with kindness. So let me put some slides up. As Alice says, this is going to be a really practical session. Just give me a thumbs up when you can see my slides.
Yeah, we can see them.
Yeah, perfect. That's fabulous. Lovely. Okay, so when I was asked to talk about healthy conversations, and I absolutely said yes, because this is a lot of what I do in terms of the work we facilitate conversations, and I work on the basis that we change the world one conversation at a time. And then they said an hour. It's like, what? Seriously? We've only got an hour, so we're gonna have a whistle stop. And what I've tried to do is to give you kind of what I think is probably the most useful things, and if you want to have further conversations and dig deeper into this, really, really happy, and lots of resources we can signpost you to. But first of all, let's work out what we're going to cover today. So in the time that we've got, we are going to, sorry, We're going to really think about person-centered and what that means, and think about what matters to me. I'm going to give you 2 tools that you can go and take away and use this afternoon in your conversations, and you're going to have a chance to practice them. So we're going to have some breakout sessions, and I really urge you to stay in the sessions, to have fantastic conversations with your colleagues, but also to be able to get the tools and to be able to practice them. And then we're also going to, so the tools are clean language and non-violent communication. Okay, and I think Ian's joined us, and he's just going to be scribing for us as well while we talk. So I've already said this is about changing the world one conversation at a time. And for us to be able to do that, it's about how we are in ourselves, as well as how we enable the person we're having the conversation with to be at their best. And I just wanted to make the link that has been the golden thread running through the whole of this week's festival. And I just want to also say, for LLR, you are breaking new ground. This Health and Wellbeing Festival is amazing. And that you're coming together virtually, and that people can catch up with this is so phenomenal in terms of really supporting and recognising and valuing each other, and also being able to help you to be to have more health and more well-being in everything that you're doing. And that inevitably is going to then translate into patient care and patient outcomes. So I was just casting my mind back to Saturday when we had the kindness workshop on World Kindness Day. And I was trying to just kind of see where the thread had taken us so far. So we know that kindness is the unconditional positive regard. So that means that we think the best of the person and of the situation, and we want the best of that for that person and of the situation. And in order to do that, we first have to be kind to ourselves. And that's when we are kind to ourselves, and we are supporting, giving ourselves self-care, looking after our needs, that then enables us to give kindness to other people. And we are busy people, and we are also individually on our own little mission, aren't we? In terms of, it might be about our service, it might be about our patient group, it might be about improving staff well-being, whatever it is, we make stuff happen, don't we? And it's about, we do that through our relationships and how connected we are with each other. And so that's really important in terms of the relational space that we have for those conversations, because that's where in the relationship we have the conversation, we have the change, we have the shifts. So I was thinking back to the session that was held on Monday around conversations we're having. So we really want conversations to be safe, we want them to be open, we want both parties to be able to say what they need, so that then they can express themselves both individually, we can come together to work out what do we do together, and we can create positive outcomes. And so to do that really well, it's great to have coaching skills and to have some tools for healthy conversations that give us the confidence to be able to do that more of the time. And we never know when those conversations are going to happen. So again, healthy conversations really help to give us options, and they give us choices, they give us possibilities, and most importantly, they give us hope. So that's kind of where I'm coming from in terms of thinking about healthy conversations. And for us, we do a lot of work around healthy conversations and around personalised care. So people may be familiar with the Personalised Care Institute, which is the NHS-EI body that has come together to really focus and to train. I think the number is now 70,000 people in personalised care techniques. And so, for example, we offer a health coaching program that we've had over 400 people go through, which helps them to really think about those personalised care conversations. How can we have conversations about what matters to the person, rather than to do a kind of a diagnostic exchange and create a treatment plan. All of those things happen, but it's based around what is important for that individual person. And personalisation is really about how we treat people with dignity, with compassion, and with respect. And we could have a whole workshop on each of those words, couldn't we? Because they're so important, so rich, and they will mean different things to each different one of us. And the point about the care, when we think about it in terms of patients, but this also applies for staff, and it applies for the people we care with, it's about actually we can personalise our approach. that it is really, we coordinate things, so we make it easy to do the right thing, and that we enable. So the whole premise of coaching is that we believe that people are resourceful. They actually have their own answers. It's about how we help them to unlock it. So we can talk more about personalised care if that's of interest to you, but just to kind of give you a sense of that's the model, that's the mindset that we're working with. And I mentioned about kindness starts with ourselves, and we first have to be, we have to be there and really understand ourselves first. So I just want you to take a moment and just think about the question, how are you? How are you really? So let's hit the chat. Anybody, just give me kind of like almost like a pulse check for how are you? And it's okay not to be okay. That's the other thing that's really, really important. So let's see how people are in terms of how are you really? Fabulous. How are you? How are you really? I'm feeling really good, thank you. Yeah. Tired but energized, great. You can feel both at the same time, absolutely. Happy to be here. Oh, thanks, Penny. Me too. Jo's got to take a call, but she's going to come back. So momentarily distracted, but back in the room. Feeling good and loving the festival. Fabulous, Tara. Great feedback. We do. Exhausted and too many things to do, Nina. Okay, well, this session is absolutely for you. So thank you for the chat, and keep the chat going. So I think the thing is, we often work on, people might have heard of system 1 and system 2. We often work on system 1. So when I say how are you, we just go, oh, I'm fine, thanks, because that's what we're expected to say, isn't it? But this gives us a chance to really check in with ourselves. How are we really? So the tired but energized, the too many things to do. Yeah, these are how we are actually really. And I think it's really important that we start with that kind of positive self-regard. So I was running a session this morning and we were talking about I am enough. I'm doing the best I can. So giving yourself whatever affirmations, whatever kindness you can. We tend to beat ourselves up in terms of thinking about all the things that we have to do, that we haven't done. You know, we give ourselves guilt on this. Those things still are there and they still need to be done. Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying don't do them, but I'm saying also be kind and be positive about what you have done, how you're doing. You know, if you're dealing with challenges and struggles, that you're working your way through those. Be kind, first of all. I mean, you've all heard the expression, you know, put your own oxygen mask on first. So as they say in the play, you've got to look after yourself first before you can look after other people. And often as caregivers, people working in health and social care, we're giving so much of ourselves that sometimes there's not very much left for us. And sometimes it feels like it might just be fumes. And again, what we're wanting to try and get to is that we are filling ourselves up. I have an expression that people who know me will have heard many times, is you can't pour from an empty cup. So actually, I really want you to think about, what are the things that fill your cup up? What are the things that you need to do that will help you be at your best? And starting with self, I also want you just to take a moment to think about, what are the stories you tell yourself? So this little kind of chattery voice, I don't know, you might have a name for it, or it might just be a voice that you hear in your mind's ear, about the stories that you tell yourself. So it might be about, you know, I've got so much to do, I'm never going to get this done, or it might be, it's okay, I'm doing enough. So if you've got stories that are unhelpful to you, really recommend that you think about those stories of kindness that you can give back to yourself, to just help you to reframe, to help you to reconnect, help you to self-care. And Brené Brown, who is an absolute guru as far as we're concerned, and we can send loads of links for her work, she talks about shame, she talks about vulnerability, and she absolutely encourages us to talk to ourselves like you would a friend. So sometimes some of these voices that we hear, you know, the stories that we tell ourselves, if you heard a friend saying that about themselves, what would you say? You say, hey, just cut that out, stop it. We need to really be friends with ourselves first, and to take that self-care there. So again, there are things that we can really practically do. to help ourselves to be self-aware and to help ourselves self-care. So it might be about taking time to reflect. I know some people don't have a commute, which used to be the downtime, the kind of the decompression. But if you go for a walk or whatever it is, you just take that time to reflect, to download the day, to be able to put it into that place. And to be journaling is really helpful. Nobody else needs to read it, and actually you don't need to read it once you've written it. It's there. Although looking back, you can see patterns, and also you can see how far you've come. And also mindfulness, and it doesn't need to be, I know you've had yoga this week, but it doesn't need to be yoga. It can just be watching the leaves. It could be just looking out of the window and noticing what you notice. It could be just paying attention to your breathing for 3 breaths or for 10 breaths, whatever it is. But I really urge you to be committed to starting with self and to give yourself self-care. So we've started with self, and we've checked in with how we are really. So then I'm just going to give you some top tips about when you're then working with others, because this is one part of the healthy conversation, but then of course there's somebody else in the healthy conversation. So let's see. You won't be surprised to hear me say the most important thing for us in healthy conversations is to make it safe. To make it safe for ourselves and to make it safe for other people. So these are some thoughts when I was kind of trying to boil down the essence of healthy conversations that I hope are helpful for you. And I'm sure there are things that you're already doing, and there may be some things that maybe you could pay some attention to that might help you get even better results, and that it feels easier for you, because that's the whole point. So think about when you have a healthy conversation. So for example, I am not a morning person, so if you want to have a good conversation with me, really try not to do it before 9 o'clock, because I'm just grunting at that point. So there are things there about you'll know you might be a bit empty, the other person might be a bit empty as well. So check in, is this the right time? Sometimes you have to step in because you need to have that conversation, but try and find when is the best time to have healthy conversations between whoever is involved in that. And I think also, this whole thing about actually the context is key. So what else is going on around? What else is going on for you? How's your headspace? And think about what else is going on for the person. And you may not be able to check, read their minds on this one, but so check it out with them. Don't make assumptions. So understand that context. So for example, Alice, you were saying about people grabbing a quick cup of tea after they've maybe come off a back-to-back meeting or just come off the ward. So that may not be the best time to have a healthy conversation, maybe at the end of the session. Or it might be actually because they are in the right space for wanting to do things differently or wanting to really open up about how things are being. If you can, in the physical, as we call it in real life, find a safe space. And also Teams is a great way to be able to do that, although recognizing some people don't find that the Teams environment is as comfortable for them, although we're all getting a lot more used to it. But again, the space is uninterrupted and it's quiet, so you can have a really good conversation. Now, you can't always control that, but try and create that as much as you can do. And I also think it's really important to start with what you do want and what you don't want. So start your positive intentions. So explain about actually your well-being is really important to me and I'm here to support you. And that just particularly when people are very stressed, under pressure, it just calms everything down for them. So it's not a difficult conversation necessarily, but it's really about, I'm here for you, I'm in your service, what can I do to help? And if you can do, equalize. So try and take away or minimize barriers. So that whole thing about don't meet across a table. If you are able to do in real life, and I'm slightly jealous of this, but if you're able to have a coffee together, come alongside. Don't be talking across, so that you're minimizing the distance. You're minimizing any of those barriers that might be there, that might be perceived as things that are getting in the way, literally as well as metaphorically. Pay attention to your body language. So be attuned, notice what's going on for the other person as well. So again, and often I will say to people, "Oh, I'm noticing you seem a little bit agitated. Your knees started jiggling," and then that might help them say, "Well, actually, I'm quite nervous about this, or I'm really anxious, or I'm thinking about what else I need to be doing." And make it safe so that people can actually state their needs. And we're going to use, when we come to the non-violent communication, that's a beautiful tool, so simple to help people to state their needs. So it's okay to state our needs. And we may have grown up in cultures or in environments where we feel that that isn't necessarily the case, but to be fully heard, seen and supported, we need to state our needs. That's both from our perspective, but also to encourage the other person to state their needs, because then you can work with what actually needs to happen. And very importantly, with healthy conversations, you need to agree actions and agree follow-up. There's an accountability there, isn't there, on both parties? So how do you do that in practice? So a little bit of a checklist there, which I hope is helpful. And if there's anything that you think I've missed, I'd love to know, because this can be a living checklist that we can help to get a really good resource together. So as you would expect, healthy conversations and coaching, it all starts with listening. And again, people who are familiar with Michael West's work will know this lovely phrase about listening with fascination. So again, we listen, to the person, we listen with everything. So we're not distracted, we're using 2 ears, we're zipping our mouth on this one, and we're really, we're really interested in what they're saying. We really want to understand. We're curious. We might even ask those questions. I'm curious to know more. Help me to understand. All those things, those lovely phrases that keep the conversation going. Listen for the words, listen for the music, and listen for the dance. So there I'm talking about actually, what are people saying? How are they saying it in terms of their tonality, the energy they've got, whether they're whispering, whether they're shouting, what else is going on in terms of the music, of how they're phrasing their words, and listen to the dance of their body language. So, are they feeling like they're very small and they don't want to be seen, or actually are they very relaxed and they're open in situations? So again, words, music and dance. And a great way to demonstrate that you have heard what people are saying is to reflect and to paraphrase, so that you confirm understanding. And that also gives the person a chance that if that's not what they said or not what they meant, that they can restate it. So we do get it, we understand, that understanding is in the room. And this is a fabulous quote, which we use a lot in coaching, from the wonderful Marilyn Atkinson. So everything hinges on listening. Because what we are listening for affects where we are speaking from. And it unfolds how we are being with and for each other. So that's in essence why listening is so important. So the next part is about questioning, and as you would expect, that should say questioning, but it's so basically I'm going to give you a tool that talks about questioning and uses lovely open language. It's called clean language technique, and we're going to practice that helps you to have great conversations, that questions that open up for people to be able to say what they need to say, to state their needs, and for you to be able to understand that and for you to be able to support them. And the questioning, it's really about keeping it very open, non-threatening, and not we try and avoid the question why as much as possible, because why, although it's a curiosity question, it can also feel like it's an accusation. So why haven't you done that, or why did you think that was a good idea? So you might say, I'm curious to understand what was going on, and you can say why at that point, why you were thinking of that course of action, but not to start with why. So as I said, I'm going to give you a technique to use, and it's called clean language. And I guess the purpose of the healthy conversation, just to ground it, is that we are attending. And this is, again, an expression which is about we're in service of not only the person and ourselves, but also of the situation. So when we're having those well-being conversations, when we're checking in with people, we are trying to be of service to them. We're not wanting to rescue them, because they don't need rescuing. They have, in most parts, the resources, or if not, we can signpost them and support them. And we're not giving them advice. We're helping them find their own solutions in terms of healthy conversations. And it might be helpful action. So it might be the signposting, it might be the suggesting that people, check this out, or it might be about, thinking about different ways of doing things. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to build up that own individual resilience and agency, so the person can go and do whatever they need to do for themselves going forward. So it's about sustainability. So I've trailed this, but here it is. This is clean language. We love it. And if you have experienced any of our live scribes that Ian may have done for you in the system, this is what we're using. And it's a technique that's come from coaching. It's actually come from therapeutic coaching. And basically, boiled down, it's about really listening attentively. It's about zipping it in terms of keeping your opinions and your advice to yourself as much as possible. So if you are a fixer, and if you like to tell people how to do things, and you want to, or you're a rescuer, you need to, I am literally sitting on my hands right now. You need to sit on your hands, you need to sit back, and you need to hold back. It's not about you. And again, clean language really helps to understand the person's mindset, their metaphors, or the everyday statements that they might use. So they might use phrases or an expression. So as I said, it's good to talk. That might be one of their metaphors that they're using, or there might be things that they might feel like they might say, I feel like the camel, and one more straw, and then that's the camel's back broken. Whatever it might be, there'll be ideas, images that are coming out for those people. And again, the great thing about clean is that you don't have to know the answers, because clean just encourages you, when the person's made a response, is to ask another question. And it can take time, because you're really listening. So you're not thinking while they're talking, what's the great question I'm going to ask? You're thinking, you're listening, they're finished. And then you think of what's the great question I'm going to ask now that's going to help this person in terms of taking them forward. So here we go. These are clean language questions. So we start often with a developing question. So we might talk about, you might say, I really care about your well-being. I've noticed that you're not quite your usual self. Is there anything that I can do, because I really want to support you? And they might say, I'm feeling really tired. I'm feeling really tired at the moment. And you would ask, so I'm really sorry to hear that. What kind of tired is it? And they might say, it's a weariness in my bones. I just feel like I haven't got enough energy to get going. And you say, that's difficult. What's that like? What's that weariness like? And they might say it's like a weight on my shoulders. And actually, I feel like I've got weights around my ankles. I can't feel. It's like a ball and chain. And you may say then, well, is there anything else about that? Is there anything else about that? And they may say, well, I just feel like I can't see beyond tomorrow. This is I'm going down a dark place here now. So you can see how by just asking those questions, those sort of questions, we're getting into developing. So then we then move on to the kind of sequence and source questions. So here we're saying, okay, so what happens? You might ask, what happens with that ball and chain? So what happens just before you feel really tired? And they say, well, I might be feeling, I'm worried about all the things I've got to do. I'm worried I'm not going to get to them. And then you may say, well, what happens just before that? Well, what happened? I come in and then somebody bombards me with another request, and I don't know how to prioritize it. So we're then starting to understand, so what happens before, what happens next, what's kind of the sequence of these situations. And then we move on to the intention. Okay, so what would you like to have happen? This is, if you have one question, actually, I'm going to give you two questions that are your best friends, but this is one of them. So what would you like to have happen is one of the best questions that you can have in your back pocket for any situation. And it's absolutely fantastic, because generally the person knows what they want. They know what they want, so they can express their needs. So actually, I don't want to be feeling tired. I want to be feeling back to myself. I want to be able to prioritize my work. I want to not feel like I'm getting overwhelmed when somebody just asks me to do one thing, which is actually totally reasonable, and it's my job to do it. And then you can kind of work out, okay, so what needs to happen for that to happen? So what would you like to have happen is a fantastic question. And you might want to think about, okay, so what do you need to do for that to happen? Or what needs to happen for that to happen. So again, you can keep it as clean and as neutral as you want to in that situation to help them identify what that is. So again, the other best question for the other pocket is, when you're at your best, it's like what? This is a fabulous question that just helps people in all of the difficulty and the challenge and the overwhelm that they might be experiencing in terms of their health and well-being, just to take a moment and to reconnect with them at their best. They will have an image in their mind's eye. They might be in a certain place or a certain time, but when they're at their best, and again, then what you can do is you can help to ask, okay, so when you're at your best, what are you doing? How are you feeling? How are you thinking? You can then ask them, okay, so what stops you from being at your best? And they can identify that. And then you ask them, what resources do you need to be at your best more of the time? And that's almost a what do you want to happen next question. So we're going to practice this. I'm going to ask Jem to put us into breakout groups. So you're going to be in lovely pairs. So you're going to be able to have really safe, intimate conversations with each other. And you're going to ask your partner these questions. You're going to ask them, when you're at your best, it's like what? And you're going to listen. And you might want to write down what they're saying. You might want to use their metaphors. And then you'll just replay those to them in terms of, so you're saying at your best, you're like, you feel like you've got a yellow energy, the sunshine all around, you are invincible, you're skipping down the corridors, nothing is too much trouble. And what's going on, so that's describing what's going on around them. What stops you from being at your best? When I feel like I can't get through things, when I feel like it's just like treacle, whatever it might be. And then what resources do you need to be at your best more of the time? So I might need to make a plan. I might need to manage my boundaries. I might need to be saying no to some things, or looking at what my priorities are with my manager, whatever it might be. I don't want to put ideas in your heads, because you will have your own at your best and you will have your own resources. How were your conversations?
Mine and Vince's were good. We were having a good chinwag on there, talking about what brings us down, what enables us to be at our best, and what actually can bring us down. Pretty much people. Yeah. So it can be other people's behaviours and beliefs and priorities can actually directly influence how our days are going and our priorities.
So being able to recognise that, and then maybe some things, then thinking about, okay, so what do you need to do to help you be at your best more of the time? Might be about, how I create a little bit of a kind of metaphorical force field around me, so that actually their negativity doesn't affect me. I just say, that's them, this is me, whatever it might be. Yeah.
No, I get that. And actually trying to take some time out before having to respond to somebody that might be upsetting your spirit, so that you can pitch the tone correctly. Absolutely. To promote healthy conversations.
Yeah, Vince, that's
I don't think I've been doing just before this.
Yeah. Taking that step back and thinking about things before you send that email.
Pressing the pause button is really, really helpful. It helps us to emotionally regulate, which is just the fancy term for it, like helps us to be at our best. So again, you may want to just say, I just need a moment before I respond to that. But again, use clean language. So when somebody's maybe giving you some particular situation, so tell me some more about that. Let me understand that. Help them to unpack it. Okay. Any other observations about how that was? Are you happy to share? Natalie, you're smiling enigmatically.
I'm just happy to be here. Thank you.
Fabulous. Great. Okay, so I did say that I give you 2 tools. So let's give you the next one. So if you don't mind turning your camera off, then I can share screen and we get a good view of the screen. So this is the next one. So this is a tool called NonViolent Communication, which just give me a thumbs up that you can see it okay.
Nothing yet, Jane.
Nothing yet. Is that coming yet? No. I was saying, Alice, it was practice, didn't I?
There you go, Jane.
Perfect. Fab. Okay. So NonViolent Communication, it's come from a gentleman called Marshall Rosenberg, who worked, having studied lots and lots of survivors from concentration camps, and really kind of wanting to understand what helped keep them going, and also how did they communicate, and how were they in the world subsequently as survivors. And he came up with this theory that actually our communication often is violent. And that's not necessarily we're using physical violence, but in terms of the words we use, the tone we use, the underlying intention of it. So he suggested that actually what we should try and do is have communication that's based on, it's coming from the heart, and it's based on empathy, and it's based on compassion. And we are stripping away all judgment about the other person and about ourselves, so self-care again, in terms of this is on, we are in a natural state of compassion, because he described, babies aren't born with violent communication. They learn it from their environment and from their circumstances. So again, we have this, and sometimes our prevailing culture, so Vince, what you were saying, sometimes the prevailing culture in terms of other people can also create violent strategies. So again, it's working on the fact that we all have needs, and again, it enables us to be really authentic in our communication. It helps us through that authenticity and vulnerability to understand more and to deepen our connection with people, and therefore to be able to be more effective in resolving conflict. So that all sounds very lovely, doesn't it? But what does this actually involve? And again, it's a really lovely, simple tool. So it starts off with observation. So what do I observe? What's happening in the situation, and what do I observe? And then to notice, without any judgment, what am I feeling? So to be able to be in touch with our emotions, and to be able to describe what we're feeling in relation to what we are observing. So for example, Vincent, you talked about, somebody might have said something that upset your values. So I observe that this person said this, and that upset my values. And I'm not making any judgment about that. That was just the observation. Now I feel really disappointed in that situation, because I feel quite sad that is how they feel about it. But that, again, I need to be careful I'm not getting into judgment there. And the disappointment is that I want everybody to be able to have to feel positively about whatever the situation is.
Yeah.
So my needs are, whatever they might be. So it might be about, I want people to be able to bring their best to work. I don't want them to be mood hoovering me. And I want to create an environment where we can have proper conversations, and I can maybe talk to that person about the impact that they are having on me. So I need to have a conversation about, when you say that, this is the impact it has on me. And then we can have a request from that conversation in terms of, please don't do that, or if you do need to do that, can you be mindful of actually the impact it has on me, or if it's somebody senior, don't do it in front of the juniors, because that affects, kind of creates the culture, whatever it might be, a concrete request in order to enrich our lives. So again, I think it's really, let's use a really simple one here. I observe that when I come home and the dishwasher has not been emptied, it makes me feel very frustrated. Do I have to do everything? And I actually then need to have a conversation with my family in terms of, I need you to be able to do things. I will do these things, and I need you to do those things. So I'm going to ask you, can you empty the dishwasher in the evening, so that we can then all eat, and we can all feel that we're coming together in a really good place. So again, a work example and a life example. Hopefully that gives you an idea of how to do it. So again, we're going to do some practice. So we're going to think of a situation where you want to support somebody else's well-being, and you're going to use non-violent communication. So observe, feel, need, and request. Then you're going to basically share the outline of the conversation with your buddy. Not War and Peace, just a quick outline, because we're not going to have that much time. And then you're going to have a non-violent communication conversation, and then you're going to let your buddy respond. So we get to, and you're going to swap over. Does that sound okay in terms of the activity? So I'm going to ask Jem to put us back into rooms. We're going to do this in 4 minutes, because this is really effective and quick as a tool. So let's do 4 minutes, Jem. If people can go into pairs, you might be in the same pair, you might be in a different pair. That's just the luck of the draw. And you're going to use non-violent communication to have a well-being conversation with your buddy, and then you're going to swap over. So did you get a chance to go both ways? I know we didn't give you very much time. Tara's saying no.
No, only because I'm enjoying talking to Vince.
So I observe. So let's do that one. So I observe. What do you want to say in terms of getting your turn? I observe. For Vince.
Okay, I observed that nobody else bothers to put their cameras on other than us. So
Okay.
I'm already making a judgment on the other people in this room.
So remember, no judgments. Let's just.
I know.
How does that make you feel?
Okay. Well, the example that we used is a real example of something I've been dealing with today. And what it was is I observed somebody within my team sharing their stresses about the level of work that they feel is not possible to complete within a given period of time. And so what I've done is, and I have done this in reflection, is considered about how that's making them feel, as in potentially they feel incompetent or it's eroding their confidence, whilst also then considering other members of that team who might be allowing them to be overwhelmed with the work.
So there's a little bit of judgment going on there, isn't there? But we'll just suspend that. So how does it make you feel?
How it makes me feel frustrated.
Okay. And so what are your needs?
Excuse me, sorry if you can hear that's the phone ringing already again. Yeah, what that's done, it's made me feel frustrated because yes, as much as I might be making and I'm trying to hold off from judgment, is this has been a situation by where I've been dealing with this group of people to get them to work more, not just friendlier, but more open communication and transparent about the work. So they're sharing it because they job share.
So I'm going to ask you, what are your needs? What are the needs in that situation that you need to state?
When you say my needs, for me personally, for the work?
Or for the work?
For the work. Okay, what I need is for the people to have an open, regular dialogue.
Okay, so what's your request of them?
My request of them is to speak daily throughout the day to support one another, which is a thing ever since, you know, we've gone into say lockdown and we're doing a lot more remote working, is to encourage that they communicate throughout the day to support one another, not just about I'll take this job, but to actually find out how one another's feeling.
So that might be the conversation, using that structure of the conversation that you can use for them, for that the conversation. It sounds like it might be quite imminent. Yeah,
it is. I've booked it for Tuesday next week, face to face.
So try it, see how you get on.
I will, thank you.
Fabulous. Anybody else happy to share how it was, or hit the chat? And just as we're going to hit the chat, I'm going to just ask Ian if he's ready to share the scribe, which he's been furiously and frantically drawing as we've been talking. So this is what we have covered. And we'll share this out for you and across the festival as well, in terms of a summary of today. So person-centered, keeping it safe, really listening, being curious, using clean, and then using non-violent communication. So I hope that has been helpful for you. You've got 2 techniques that are now in your back pocket. We'll share all of the resources with you. In the slide deck, there are some other signposting to other resources too, for you to dig deeper in and to dive. My encouragement is for you just to practice and to use these techniques, and you never know what you will get, particularly if the positive intention is for a healthy conversation. Thank you.
Jane, thank you so much, and thank you everybody for being here and participating and practicing what we heard. So on that basis, we'll close this session, and I hope to see more of you on sessions the rest of the week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you very much indeed. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.